astronauts, it's me Brandy and welcome back to Astro-Tarot Research. I haven't used the little numbers in a while, but I couldn't find my crystals, so here we are. So this week's reading is actually inspired by someone else, and if I can find the link to that reading, I will place it below. This week's reading is Who is the Person You Will Ultimately Become? We have 5 piles to choose from as always, but before we get started, I do want to remind you to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell to stay notified of future readings. You can also follow me on Instagram at Astro_Tarot Research, and links to private readings and social medias can be found below. So let's jump into these piles. We have pile number 1, pile number 2, pile number 3, pile number 4, and pile number 5. So let's not waste any more time and just sit back, relax, and choose. Hey, file number 1, let's get into who you will ultimately become. Oh God, my hands are slipped. So we have the Lovers, we have the 9 of Cups, we have the 10 of Wands, we have the, I believe it's the King of Wands, yes, and we have the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so very interesting selection of cards. With the Lovers here, it just lets me know that ultimately you'll probably end up becoming somebody who is in a committed relationship, and you're more likely going to prioritize working together as a coupling over, individual goals and etc. It's more about coming together as a unit. So that's going to be a huge portion of your identity, whether that is, a marriage or just some sort of long-term partnership or commitment. That's ultimately going to be a huge part of your identity. That's going to be for most people. On the other hand, this can also represent you being very business oriented or business savvy, or just generally a very, very courageous person. Because with the sign of the Lovers, it represents Gemini, and Gemini represents courage, breaking free, kind of just exploring the world, especially in Vedic Gemini. Mrigashira is Mars's first rule placement, and Mrigashira is a nakshatra, which is just a point in the sign, like it's just a degree length. So Mrigashira starts in Taurus and ends in Gemini, so it's like the first section of Gemini. And so it's that first point of bravery, and it's connected to Mars. And it's really all about breaking free of control, breaking out of this little paradise that has been created for you. Some people equivocate it to like the Garden of Eden, which is why we have the Lovers usually represents like the Garden of Eden. And it's about saying, okay, you've created this perfect place, this perfect paradise for me, but I don't have any control over my life. I don't have a say in where I go or what I do. Everything's being dictated and decided for me. And it's like you have some sort of like master residing over you. So Mrigashira is the placement that initially breaks free and starts to question things. And it's kind of like Eve when she bites the apple. So it's like being defiant. So ultimately, you're going to be a person who no longer just takes on the beliefs that are pushed upon you, whether that's by media, whether that's by society, whether that's by family, whether that's by friends. And you're going to start to question not only your reality, but the reality of others. You're going to start looking for answers. You're going to start searching for the truth. You're not going to just believe what has been thrown in front of you. So that's ultimately the person you're becoming. A very inquisitive person, a very intelligent person, very much a person who is just constantly digging for the truth. That's just why you'll probably see a lot of air signs, usually within the field of media, because, it's all about like asking questions, especially in the news realm. But that's just a popular air sign placement. But back to this 9 of Cups and 10 of Wands and all this stuff. This becomes more about sharing what you have. I always get the Nine of Cups to be like, okay, I brought something in and I want to share with the class. It does pertain a lot to food. You know, I always get this card associated with food. But if it's not just food, it's really just about sharing what you have with other people around you, nourishing other people around you, making sure everyone is doing well as making sure you yourself are satisfied. So you're in a place in your life where you're really enjoying yourself. Ultimately, you're going to be a very, very happy person, a very comfortable person, a person who's very emotionally content. Like, you're going to like where you are. And especially with this Ten of Wands, and it's next to it, and so I have to reverse it. So it's like saying, hey, I've given up on all of this heavy workload. You know, like, I'm not doing this anymore. Any sort of like heavy lifting, nah, that's for someone else. You're going to be in this King of Wands energy. You're going to start delegating that work, whatever you have to do. If you're like, you know what, I used to cut my lawn myself. Now I'm getting somebody else to cut it, because that's just, I don't want to expend that energy. You know, I used to cook every meal. Well, maybe now a day a week I hire a chef, or I meal prep, or, you know, I go out to eat or something like that. You know, it's really about spoiling yourself and making life a little bit easier for you. So you become this person who is pushing yourself to make your life easy for you. And if things become too difficult or too pressing, you're like, not worth the effort, okay? It's not saying that you are devoid of responsibilities, because obviously we have this King of Wands. And King of Wands, I always get this card for just getting things done. Like, you really just, like, you get things done. But it's less you carrying the burden and you saying, I'm going to need some help with this, which is why I really do think the first interpretation of the card of just kind of having like a partnership or somebody you're working with, even if it's a business partnership, you have somebody there to help you with whatever task at hand you're trying to tackle within your life. So you're becoming this, it really does become about like, okay, you handle this, I'll handle that, right? But it could just be hiring various people to work for you. Maybe, you know, once a month you hire a maid to clean a house or something, or maids, depending on how big your house is. Something along the lines of that. It's saying you're just lightening your load, okay? You're expending less energy as you get older, and you're getting into a more comfortable state. And not only that, when I get these two wands energy, it does represent a lot of confidence. So you're becoming a person who is very, very confident and very much in a great place career-wise, because the King of Wands is a person who is generally very, very successful and good at what they do. Now, maybe you're not career-oriented. Maybe you want to be a housewife or a house husband. And then this just indicates that you're making sure all of those, you know, duties that you may do at home are done. And you're finished with that. And it just doesn't... Excuse me. And not only... you're getting your duties done, and not only that, but you have time to spare to relax and to do something that you love doing, okay? This kind of combination and order of cards kind of reminds me of like how I would used to like drink a cup of coffee, sit down, eat breakfast and whatever before work, because it's like for you, you're like, you know what, let me enjoy myself first, and then let me get to business. So it's just that instead of, you know, work hard, party harder, you're like, party hard, then we're gonna work hard. Like, you need to relax first. You need to like de-stress in the morning. Like, you're becoming this person, you wake up and you're like, you know what, I need to cater to me first. I need to take care of myself first, and then I can take care of whatever it is that I need to take care of. But you are prioritizing your emotional, mental health and your happiness. So that's ultimately the type of person that you are becoming. And you're really becoming a person who very much likes to encourage other people and yourself to follow whatever it is that you dream of. And ultimately, with this Knight, King of Wands, it's does indicate putting less effort into your appearance, but it doesn't indicate looking bad, okay, if that makes sense. So 10 of Wands is like, you're like, okay, I'm not going to nitpick everything that I do anymore. I'm not going to, exercise 7 days a week. Maybe I'll do it 4 days a week. Or I'm not going to make sure I got my eyebrows plucked, and maybe I'll do that once a month or something like that. But so it's like decreasing the amount of effort you would put into your physical maintenance, but also it's not like you're lax on it. It's not like you look grimy. You look good, okay? So you're evolving into a person who has more confidence, and because you have more confidence, you're putting less effort into nitpicking every little thing that you may feel is like wrong with you or something like that. And then with this Wheel of Fortune here, it is about saying, the cards are kind of reminding you that yes, things will kind of constantly change throughout your life, that you will grow different personalities, that you'll grow as an individual, redefine your thoughts, redefine your beliefs, redefine what it is that you are seeking. But ultimately, you're going to be a person with a strong sense of opinions, a strong backbone, a person who is very much a go-getter. You're going to be a person who can be a little bit of a perfectionist, but you're going to dial it back a bit as you get older and older. And you're going to be this person who likes to share their gift with other people, as well as being very much a communicative person. Like you'll love the socialization, and you'll love being around people like the older you get, or maybe even just starting clubs, being a part of online groups, whatever the case may be. These cards do indicate being very social in a sense. And the Wheel of Fortune here is just being somebody who goes with the flow. They're like, I'm ready for whatever life has to throw at me. I'm ready to be a part of the little changes that life has to put me through. And you're going to become a person who pretty much as I said, with the looking for answers and trying to redefine yourself and changing a little bit more every day. But this is the basic outline for who you are, as who you will become as a person. Okay, so trying to think if there's anything. Oh, and just a general, very, very giving person. You may have some issues saying no sometimes to people, but because these cards aren't very strict and there aren't a lot of like boundaries set here with these cards. So you may have some issues saying no as you get older. You may be like a grandparent that's like always, if you want kids and grandkids and all that stuff, you may be like a grandparent who's like, okay, let me give you this toy and let me give you this thing. And so you may spoil them a little bit, but that's just like how you will be, because you feel like you have so much to share and so much to give. And you will be at such a good place for yourself financially, as well as just career-wise or goal-wise, or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. You'll be at that place, and you'll have traveled. I'm not going to say you'll be like this huge world traveler, but you will have traveled to a few different places. And mainly it's going to be within the country, or like within the continent, but it's more than likely you'll have traveled a good bit more. And so you'll have a lot more knowledge, and you're like, I just want to give and make people happy around me and want people to be as happy as I am. So that's what I have for you, pile number one. I'll see you next time. Au revoir. Hey, pile number two, this is who you will ultimately become. I have no clue why it looks so dark. I have like all these lights on. I have the brightness up, whatever. Okay. We have the 5 of Wands. We have the 4 of Swords, we have the Eight of Wands, we have the Queen of Swords, and we have the Seven of Swords. Interesting, we have two cards that kind of like represent this like very reclusive, pull away energy. So you may be a little bit more of a recluse as you get older, or just somebody who is like, I don't want to talk to all these people. Like with this Five of Wands energy, you may feel like the more you go through life, the more you kind of like encounter people who may be a little bit more difficult or who can be like very competitive. I get the Five of Wands to be like somebody who could either be worried about what people say about them, or somebody who they can either be competitive themselves, or they can encounter a lot of people who are jealous and competitive. This can also represent somebody who can be a little bit more antagonistic, or just somebody who they feel like, wow, this person is just very prickly. So people may get the impression that you're just a very like prickly kind of person, where you're like, don't bother with me, please leave me alone, I'm trying to be by myself, like don't, okay? So that, which happens to a lot of people, right? Like I feel like a lot of us get a lot more grumpy as we age, where we just don't have the patience anymore. And the cards are indicating you just don't have the patience. Like the older you get, the more you're like, please do not waste my time. Please do not come up with me with some BS. Please make sure that you are doing what you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? Like you're really saying, nope, I'm not the one to mess with, okay? And you'll definitely challenge somebody, you know, if they come for you, like, you know what I mean? Like if somebody's coming for you, you're not someone to back down. And that's what it says. The older you get, the more you're like, I'm not going to just let anybody talk to me any kind of way. I'm going to speak my piece. I'm going to say what I need to say. I'm going to do what I need to do. Like that's pretty much who you are here. But for the most part, you're really, really like a chill person, okay? The cards are just saying that like, you're really not tolerating the nonsense anymore, but for the most part, you're like, okay, I just need to relax. I need to be by myself. I need to just take a moment to breathe. Like I need to rest. You're definitely this person who likes to stay in. Maybe you like to watch some TV. Maybe you like to scroll through YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, whatever. Watch movies, garden, play games. Four of Swords is definitely like, I like to be in my home. I am a homebody. I am an introvert. I like to read some books. Like, please don't bring me out there with those people. That is what you like are becoming, the person you are turning into right here, especially with the Seven of Swords and this Queen of Swords. I have gotten the Queen of Swords lately to represent somebody, and she was totally like the embodiment of this Four of Swords and this Seven of Swords energy, where if someone comes for her, she's like, you know what, she's gonna talk back. Like she's really gonna talk back. She's very much very truthful, very honest with what she has to say. She doesn't care if a whole bunch of people disagree with her, and she's just gonna keep saying what she has to say because that's what she believes, right? So sticks to her guns, but the thing I was trying to say about her was mainly she was somebody who stays at home most of the time, doesn't have a huge amount of friend circles, but she's very, very happy, okay? The Queen of Swords has this association with being kind of like alone or unmarried out of all the queens or something like that. I mean, she wasn't alone or unmarried. I don't know where that interpretation came from, because I normally get the Queen of Swords people for some like people who are like in relationships or like dating, okay? I mean, the Queen of Swords is married to the King of Swords. But I will say this, she does spend most of her time to herself, and even if she has like a husband, like they kind of give each other their space. Swords are like that. That's why most of the swords are coming up with like being reclusive and pulling back, and Seven of Swords and running away. Like even in relationships, they're like, I need my space, okay? Like that's that air sign energy. That air sign energy is like, I just need my space, okay? I need my space. Like just get away from me. Doesn't mean they don't love you. They just really need their space. So that's pretty much who you are. You're like, you really need that time to yourself. You really need to cater to your own thoughts. You're somebody who will love being within your own space. You're somebody who will be very, very intelligent. So the older you get, you actually are one of those people who are growing wiser with age. That doesn't happen for everyone, but it's happening for you the smarter you become. And then not only that, but I do see a lot of Queen of Swords energy. They love giving advice to other people. If they feel like there are people who are really willing to listen to what they have to say and to hear their thoughts and their opinions and their strategies and whatever it is that they're trying to come across, they really will sit down and help people out, because queens and kings usually like to help people out. If there were other cards here, if there were like pentacles next to it, I'll be like, okay, well, maybe you're a little bit bitter, but no, this is like saying, hey, I really want to help people. I really want to make sure that they are being observant of the world around you, like looking for patterns and behaviors, making sure they aren't repeating the same cycle or the same mistakes over and over again, because that's what air sign energy ultimately becomes about. It's saying, hey, are you repeating the same patterns? Are you thinking repeating those patterns is going to get you different results? Maybe try things this way. Maybe think about things from this perspective. Maybe use a different tool this time. Maybe reflect on what exactly it is that you are trying to accomplish. So you just become a very analytical person. And you become a person who can be very calculated about the way they move. And I don't mean calculated in a cold manner. I mean calculated in an intelligent manner. And a way that's like, well, I'm not going to say this thing to this person because I know if I say this thing to this person, they're going to be triggered. They're going to be upset by this. And then, you know, so you move differently, knowing things. You're working with the knowledge you have. So the older you get, the more intelligent you become. And the more you know how to work your intelligence, the more you know how to maneuver yourself throughout the world so that it benefits you. And I will say that with this combination of cards, you know, maybe you could be a little manipulative, but it's not manipulative in a bad way. It's kind of like if you were to tell a kid that like broccoli makes you super strong. Like I remember like this used to be a thing a lot of adults do when I grew up. Like I'm old, but where they're like, broccoli makes you super strong, or spinach makes you super strong, like Popeye. You know, the cartoon with the guy who was like, was he a sailor? What was he? But he was like very muscular. And so they're like, oh, eat your vegetables, you'll be strong like him, or something like that. So that's like a sort of manipulation that you'll probably be entertaining, but it's like for somebody else's benefit, okay? And it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? In certain cases like that, because you're trying to help someone, and that is beneficial to eat vegetables. Eight of Wands, like I said, this communicating thing, I feel like it's a little bit more from a distance, where you have to answer a lot more emails, and you're going to be taking a lot more phone calls, and you're going to be that person who may answer their phone at dinner or something where they're out, because I really do feel like you're somebody, maybe you're going to be working more remote, like for the rest of your life or something like that, but you're somebody who's going to have to be like a little bit attached to the hip with some technologies, just because you're gonna have a lot of people reaching out to you. Eight of Wands is definitely that card where it's like, ugh. Every time I get that card to represent how my day's gonna go, I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna get a million calls, I'm gonna get a million messages, I'm gonna get a million emails that day. And so your life is sort of becoming like that. And then it could also be because this is who the person you're becoming, where you also have to send a lot of emails and make a lot of calls. Maybe you start running your own business. Maybe you're somebody who does like marketing for other people. Maybe you have to entertain people. It's possible that you are somebody who is writing a book. Maybe you're somebody who makes speeches. Maybe you're somebody who has their own social media platform. Whatever the case may be, you just may be somebody who has to engage and interact with a lot of people. Maybe you're like, oh, let me respond to this comment. Or maybe let me like this post. Maybe let me type and collaborate with this person, okay? So it could be something along the lines of that. And then also with the Eight of Wands, that can represent traveling a little bit further than you normally may go. Just in general, it's a travel card. So, I mean, it'd just be weird for me not to mention doing some traveling. I don't know how far, because when swords and wands come together, it amplifies that fire energy. So you're definitely very motivated. So it could be quite a bit of traveling. It just depends on whatever it is that you want to do and what you want to accomplish and where you want to go. But you're you're getting everything that you need to get done, okay? I think that covers everything. You could also be a little bit more flirtatious too, because I get this combination to represent like the ultimate person who becomes a little bit flirtatious, where you flirt with someone, but then you're like, oh, I'm a little embarrassed, and then you kind of like run away. But that's that. I just wanted to say that, especially with the Five of Wands there, that can also be an indication of flirtation, and then just being like, nah, you know what? Shut it down. Like, so you flirt and then like shut it down. So that's just something. It's a small thing, but it is there. Okay. So that is what I have for you, pal number 2. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram. And I will see you next time. Au revoir. Hey, pal number 3. Let's get started on your reading. So we have the Four of Wands, the Queen of Pentacles. Oh wait, a Queen. Don't know why I pronounced it like that. The Knight of Pentacles, the Knight of Cups, and the Five of Wands. We got that for another deck too. So a lot of you guys are getting a little bit feisty as you get older. Well, actually, this is probably less feisty because it's next to Cups. So I guess it's like the opposite. With the Five of Wands, first of all, since the first thing came to my head, as you get older, you're going to pick and choose your battles more. And it was so interesting because I took a break to go eat or whatever, and I went to go pick up a pizza, and I was like, oh, well, I like this pizza, would be good. And I got the Knight of Cups energy, and I did like the pizza. This sounds really random, but what I'm trying to say here is that you're going to become a person who most people will find quite likable, but you know, with some flaws, but everyone has flaws, right? So the thing that is usually a flaw with the Knight of Cups is sometimes they can be too much. Like they could be like maybe too clingy, or they could be too hot and cold, or, you know, sometimes people are like, oh, this is a little bit too much right now. Like, they may not know how to read the room sometimes. But overall, generally, you're becoming a person that most people will find to be very agreeable. Most people will like hanging around. Most people will really enjoy your company. And I didn't even read the rest of this stuff and really look at it, but just from these cards alone, I know that. And if I go back to the top, it actually makes a lot of sense, because the first card we got was the Four of Wands, which is a card about celebrating and being around people and being in good companies. Very close to the Three of Cups. But I think Three of Cups is more like, oh, I'm going out to party. Four of Wands is a little bit more close friends, a little bit more of we have a reason to celebrate, versus Three of Cups. It doesn't need necessarily be a reason. But fours do represent an activity. So you're definitely going to be a person who takes on less responsibilities and really enjoy yourself and let your hair down. And with the Queen of Pentacles here, I always get this card to represent self-care or self-pampering, just really taking care of yourself, doing nice things for yourself, as well as looking after your overall health, whether that's mental or physical, or just even focusing on things you want to do. Sometimes I get the Queen of Pentacles to represent a day where it's just like, I'll use an example for me. I've gotten the Queen of Pentacles to represent a day where I'm just doing tarot readings. So it's not like my full-time job, but it's something that I like doing, and I like showing up to this channel and doing readings. So it's like working on things that are more of my own personal goals versus like working for like a company or something. So as you get older, as you become like your kind of like ultimate person, you're focusing a lot more on things that are your own personal goals, that things that bring you sense of satisfaction, that things that you find very valuable, and as well as you're finding more value within yourself. And then I also get a lot of Pentacles and Wands, that particular combination, to represent self-esteem and self-worth. With this Five of Wands reverse in this Four of Wands, it's like you're surrounding yourself with people who believe in you, who encourage you, who like to uplift you as well as you uplift them, and you're really about ignoring the haters. You're really going to let any sort of smart marks just slide off you. You're not going to engage. You're not going to face off like the normal Five of Wands upright, where it's like, oh, you said something to me, so I'm going to say something back. This is more like, okay, you said something to me, whatever. I'm still good. I'm in good spirits. Like, I'm focusing on my own happiness and well-being. The Knight of Pentacles we can get to represent, you may be a little bit of a workaholic. I got this card quite a bit last year because I was focusing so much on what I wanted to get done, my future, doing a lot of research, and I was definitely doing too much and being very, very, very like perfectionist and trying to go into every little detail. And that just may be part of your personality as you get older, where you just really want to focus on getting things right and really gathering as much information on whatever task at hand, even if it's like, oh, well, how do I clean pillowcases? And so now you're looking at like 3 different vlogs on how to clean pillowcases and looking up looking up articles and trying to talk to people in stores on like, what kind of cleaning product do you get here? How long am I doing this? Like, you're focusing a lot of time and energy on like small things because you want things to be the way that you want them to be, and to, I guess, look how you want them to look. Okay. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that example, but like, you can apply this to any little thing. Knight of Pentacles is just focusing your energy on things that you feel like you would really, really like to perfect, okay? If that makes sense. It's very much like earth sign energy. You know, earth signs can be, they're slow moving because they want to get things right the first time. That's why they're known as being like more planners rather than doers. But they do like to plan things out. And so you're going to be very much a person who, for the most part, likes to stick to the plan. And you're not going to be as impulsive. I don't know if you were in the past. You're not going to be someone who is always kind of coming out with new ideas. You're like, no, I'm very focused. I know what I want. I know what I'm going after. I don't need to branch off into 7 different avenues, okay? And I say that because before the Four of Wands, we have the Three of Wands. And the Three of Wands is always about like testing, trying, like putting ideas out there, waiting for that ship to come in and you can get all of those blessings back. But no, this is saying that no, you've already put that effort. And as you get older, your blessings are definitely coming in. You're definitely in a better place, just a lot happier place. Overall, you're becoming a very, very happy person. You're a person that a lot of people will respect. And there's a lot of financial success here, as well as, you know, sometimes when we get the Queen of Pentacles and the Knight of Pentacles and another Knight of Pentacles, it can represent children in a way, or just having people to either work under you or people that you have to look after. So I do mention children, so there's a good chance that there is some children in the future, especially with the Four of Wands representing celebration. So it's kind of like, oh, look, I'm having a baby shower or a baby reveal or something along the lines like that. And just having people like under your wing, people that you have to care for, people that you have to take care of, people that you nurture and put your energy and focus to. So it's a good part that strong part of your identity that you may be like, oh, I'm a parent I'm a mom, I'm a dad, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a guardian. So that's part of the narrative that can come in for you as the ultimate person that you are becoming. And also we get, because we have no swords here, it would indicate that there is how do I explain this? Swords usually represent truth, objectivity, as well as having like a very clear sense of things, like a very, like, I'm looking at things from like 20 different angles. You know, swords represent like logic and calculation, right? So you would be a very less calculated person in that way. So you know how they have the saying, work smarter or work harder? This is more like work harder energy. Not to say that you aren't intelligent, because yeah, you're definitely intelligent, but swords are definitely just a more calculated perspective. And as you get older, as you ultimately become like this different personality, and your personality changes, you would definitely be a person that people would not describe as very calculated. You have a more like warm, welcoming, down-to-earth energy. Sword energy can be sometimes cold, or sometimes standoffish, or sometimes even threatening for some cases, or just like hard to approach, or just feel like this person will bite my head off. They don't necessarily are like that, but they can have that vibe, okay? Like, oh my gosh, this person will be so this person might be mean to me or something like that. You won't have that energy. You'll have a very friendly energy and a very inviting energy that most people will probably try to talk to you and find some sense of comfort within you. People will definitely see you as humble, and you'll definitely be a very, very humble person. Knight of Cups, as I mentioned before, it is a little bit of a mixed bag sometimes, but it is overall good, because people are seeing you as friendly, and they're like, oh, I wouldn't mind having this person around. I wouldn't mind having this person at, you know, get-togethers, parties. I want to invite them. I want to bring them in. I want to just be around them. Like, okay, maybe not all the time, but who wants to be around somebody all the time, right? That's just life. You don't want to be around one person for too long. Too much of anything's bad, right? But also with the Knight of Cups here, it can represent that you are somebody who is just kind of leading with your passions and leading with your emotions. So you may feel one thing about something one day, and then another thing about something the next, and that's something that can that could possibly be the reason why you're like really focused in on getting things right, because you're like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about things tomorrow. Let me make sure I've tried to cover all my bases. Let me make sure that I plan this vacation right, and I've plan some backup plans, because I may not like going to this restaurant, so I may want to go to here. I may not like going on this yacht ride, so maybe we go here, or if that thing gets canceled, we should go here. So it's something along the lines of that, like you're preparing yourself for how you may feel about things, because you just may not have that. And then another thing about the Knight of Cups energy is that it's like this very youthful energy. And you know how when you're young, you have all these kind of like extreme emotions and hormones, and everything feels like the end of the world. Like if you fail a test, then you failed at life or something like that. So you can be a very passionate individual as you get older, where people are like, wow, this person's really getting emotionally involved in things. They're really putting their heart and soul into it. And they see you as overall a person who just has that sense of childlike excitement towards things. You don't take things for granted in any means, and you definitely appreciate your freedom. So that is definitely the person that you're becoming, a very solid person, a very mature person. Someone who's still a romantic at heart, who still keeps that sense of faith. There's no jadedness here. You're just overall like looking forward to new things and growing and welcoming opportunities as they come to you. So that's what I have for you, pile number 3. I will see you next time. Au revoir. Hey, pile number 4. Let's get started on your reading. So we have the 5 of Cups, the Page of Cups, the Emperor, the Five of Cups again, and the King of Cups. Okay, so this is interesting because we have a lot of emotional conflict here as you get older. Now, this is not set in stone, so keep that in mind. We have a lot of minor arcana, and minor arcana can be changed at any point. So, but overall, the trajectory does sort of indicate a sense of gloominess and a sense of like things for the past. It almost reminds me of the placement Ardra, which is, it's a nakshatra, which is just a degree length. So like 0 to 13 degrees would be like a nakshatra or something like that. In a certain sign, you would just have a name for it. Like I could call it anything, but it has a certain name in Vedic astrology. So Ardra is in the sign of Cancer in Western astrology. And one thing that I think of when I think of Ardra is because it's known as the teardrop, which is about, it's about many things, but it definitely has to do with a longing for the past and a sense of regret, or almost a sense of feeling a little bit like you've lost something that was precious to you. And if I think of like the perfect Ardra native, you just think of Drake, right? And the one thing that people say about Drake is he's always talking about like missing his ex and what you guys used to had, and I remember how we used to be this and that, and like what's that famous song, you used to call me on my cell phone? Like it's like very Ardra. It's like kind of missing the past. So there is this element to you as you get older where you feel like you're missing certain elements. Maybe you're missing out on like, maybe you turn into kind of one of those people, which is very common, where you're like, I'm a little bit like this too, where I'm like, oh, music's not what it used to be, man. Or like the movies from this time period were so great, or like the shows growing up were like this. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh, I'm so depressed and whatever. But it's just kind of like, oh man, I remember when that restaurant was right there. And I remember I used to hang out in this neighborhood. I remember I used to play soccer on this field. And so there's a bit of longing for the past as you get older, as you become this the ultimate personality that you have, where you almost become like you miss the good old days a little bit, and you're maybe you miss certain connections, maybe you miss certain friendships, maybe you miss certain food, maybe you miss certain people, because you know, as you get older you tend to lose people and you don't have certain people in your life that you may have used to have. And you have to get used to the growing technologies and things. And with this King of Cups here, it does indicate emotional maturity. So it's not like you are ultimately taking out these emotions or expressing them in a negative way, but you are acknowledging that, yeah, times have changed. And you're acknowledging that you miss certain things. And that's kind of like the personality that you are. You're taking like little mini trips down memory lane. And I think part of you is trying to capture certain feelings and certain moments that you used to have. And I think because you know what you have lost in the past, that you're welcoming in, or you're really, really appreciating these moments when you have peace, when you have good company, when you have good food, when you have no anxiety or no depression, or like when you're elated and you're happy, like you're not taking these things for granted because you know what it's like to no longer have certain things in your life. So you have that mature perspective as you get older. People will really look at you for some solid advice with this King of Cups energy. King of Cups energy is very emotionally intelligent and very self-aware. So they know why they feel the way they do, and they know why others feel the way they do. And they don't just kind of like brush aside certain things. They're not like, oh, that person's, screaming and yelling because they're a jerk. They're like, they're probably screaming and yelling because they probably had a traumatic childhood. Screaming and yelling was their only way to communicate because they felt unheard. They felt like people were not listening to them. They felt like they couldn't get their voice out. And not only that, but they were probably surrounded by people who communicated with them the same way. So you have that more mature perspective as you get older. And not only that, but you'll have a lot of differentiation. So what I mean by differentiation is like if somebody is screaming and yelling at you, you don't necessarily start screaming and yelling back. Differentiation is separating your own emotions and your own anxieties from somebody else's. Like, you can look at it from this bird's eye view and say, okay, I get that this person's upset and I don't like that they're yelling at me, but like, that doesn't really affect how I'm going to react to the situation. So it's a lot more control over your reactions. I mean, what you feel is what you feel, but you have a lot more control over your actions, and you have a lot more positive thinking in terms of like being able to recognize what it is that you can control and what you cannot control in a situation. And which is why we have this Emperor card here, which I get the Emperor card a lot to do with control. And I was just doing a study on the Emperor card, like, was it a week ago, a couple of days ago? I need to just focus on one thing and getting like this Black Beauty study done. Whatever, I'm blabbing on. But I was doing a study on it, on like how it was being perceived at the original time it was created. And I don't know if this was somebody's research or what they found or what they were like guessing. I didn't get to finish reading the whole thing, but it was about the Emperor representing absolute logic and absolute, gosh, what was the word for it? It was kind of like being absent of any other perceptions of things or absence of any other reference to things. If I could explain that, like, it's kind of like saying how if you were in a conversation and you were trying to explain how you went out for a walk in a park and it was nice and you had a good time. And then someone said to you, oh, like nice in what way? And so now in your brain, you're reaching for a reference. You're saying like, oh, nice in what way? How can I explain that to this person? Like, how can I explain nice? What's something that we both know is nice? Oh, nice in a way that you take a bubble bath. Okay, we've probably both taken bubble baths. Now we both understand the same thing. But the Emperor card represents free from all definition and all sort of perceptions and all sort of indications of like, I can relate to you, because they define their own reality, if that makes sense. It's kind of like the Emperor card, when it was first, I guess, perceived, was kind of like seen as like the father of the universe. So like the father being like God or something. And there's really no way that a human could perceive or reference or understand the full capacity of God. So I guess I'm trying to remember where I'm going with this. Where I'm going with this is that you'll have a perception of things in which most people will not be able to access that sense of maybe logic, way of thinking, creativity. It's not like that you're above others. It's just that you are very much an individual, and you're someone who is not going to define yourself by other ways, by the way that other people think. Okay? So there are lots of tropes and thoughts and different perceptions of things that people have on the internet, and very, very much so we get into different cycles of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. For example, I would say growing up, I saw a lot of tropes that used to demonize women in particular for looking for like financial stability. Like they would call them gold diggers and da 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 da. And that was like a popular narrative at the time. But currently, you sort of see the narrative changing, where you have more women who are, at least more women who are propping up financial stability, gold digging, looking for somebody who's stable, looking for somebody who's financially successful, and celebrating it and being unashamed of it. Okay, so I see that a lot more now than I did growing up. And so how this comes back to the Emperor is you will decide for yourself what is right for you, what's something you believe in, what's something that you think and how you feel absent to anybody else's thought process. So I hope I made sense with that. Like, you will not let other people influence you, but you will influence other people. Okay? I could have just said that from the beginning. I'm so wordy. But yeah, that's the kind of person you will become. And then I also get the Emperor for being somebody who is very much ambitious. So I get this card to represent somebody who's doing a lot of work, who is putting in a lot of effort and time into reaching the top of their field or their goals or whatever. They balance a lot of different things. I've gotten the Emperor to kind of represent my year for like 2 years in a row, and I currently do a lot of work. It's pretty much non-stop, so I don't really have days off, and so that's something that's probably more than likely going to be a situation for you as you get older. And this Page of Cups kind of represents that, like, you always kind of look a little bit younger than your age and than what people see you and what you perceive to be. And you're always there to, like, lend a helping hand or provide emotional support and provide comfort to other people if need so be. And you're definitely going to have a good sense of humor about things. You may have a bit of a temper, because the Emperor card does represent a temper sometimes, and, you know, being like, hey, no, I've set my foot down, this is how things are going to be. But it's not like you're ultimately just battling every person who comes near you. Most of your conflicts will be internal with this Five of Cups energy here. So people may perceive you to be a little bit of a pessimist, but you're like, you know what? This is the way that I want to live my life. This is the way that I feel is right for me. You're doing things that make you feel comfortable. You're living your life by your own measures and your own means, and you're judging your success by your own bar that you set for yourself, not by what is being defined for you. So that's something to keep in mind. And then you'll have this sort of like a romantic spirit. I definitely see that you're somebody who's going to really, really appreciate some partnership as you get older, or become like this ultimate personality of yours. You're really not going to be someone who likes being alone, especially with this Page of Cups. Lots of friends around, or you want to keep a lot of company around, maybe even some animals. Definitely somebody who is focused a little bit on their image and keeping things, I don't want to say lighthearted, because it's not really lighthearted with these Five of Cups here, but you're definitely emphasizing emotional awareness to other people, and you're expressing your vulnerabilities, and you're opening up to others, which I think that allows people to connect with you, because you're sharing all the emotions, the ones that are tough, the ones that are not so pleasant, and you're sharing the good ones as well, the ones that we want to celebrate, and happiness and all that stuff. So people will find you to be a very open person, and they'll find you to be a very honest person, and definitely someone that people will have a lot of respect for. Okay? So that is what I have for you, pal number 4. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram. I'll see you next time. Au revoir. Hey, pal number 5. Let's get started on your reading on who you will ultimately become. The Six of Wands. Sorry, the Six of Cups. The Two of Wands. Temperance. The Seven of Wands. And the Ten of Pentacles. So, first of all, similar to a lot of pals where you're like very, very ambitious and you're tackling a lot of different areas in your life. With the Seven of Wands, I get this card to represent Jesus. It's like, it's not an uphill battle, but it is a battle to stay, I don't want to say relevant, but just stay in the game and stay prepared. I always get the Seven of Wands to putting in so much effort to do things and to achieve success and to make, kind of brush off the haters, but also make fun of yourself. But it's just a general card to represent success, because it comes from the Six of Wands, which is like, oh, I won something, I'm successful, I did this. And the Seven of Wands is like, hey, I'm defending my position. You're not coming from my spot. So you're making sure that you stay on top, that you don't fall behind, that you don't become complacent and that you're staying on top of your goals, and as well as staying in line and focused to what you're trying to achieve. I will say the Seven of Wands overall, when I get it to describe people, they can be people who are a little bit impatient. I'm not going to lie. They don't have, and it's because they don't have a lot of time to waste. I've gotten the Seven of Wands so much to represent days that have just been back to back, back to back, back to back. It just reminds me of that TikTok meme of, I think, the Lady Gaga voice where it's like, club, another club, bus. And it's like an airplane, whatever they were just saying, how it's just one thing after the other. Here we go, this thing, that thing. And so you're becoming this almost like businessman, businesswoman, or I don't know if it's business necessarily, but you're becoming this, I've got to hit this goal. I got to hit this goal. I got to reach this mark. Like, I don't have any time to spare. I know a lot of journalists, and one thing that they have told me, I don't know a lot of journalists, but I've met a few journalists, and one thing that they've told me is that when they do interviews, a lot of celebrities are so strict, their PR teams are so strict on the time management, where 2 minutes over is just such a big deal. Like, they can make such a hassle out of it. It's because they have so many different things lined up back to back to back to back. So you're becoming this person who has this jam-packed schedule in order to achieve success, and you are heading in that direction. With this Ten of Pentacles here, you can't get higher than that in terms of like the financial success, the stability, the home, the comfort levels, feeling like you have everything you need, everything you want, everything you could possibly want to achieve in terms of not only just material, family, values, represents kind of self-esteem, morals, self-respect. It can represent healthy habits as well, because it's Pentacles, and Pentacles has to do with, material things like food, what you put in your body, what you consume, etc. So obviously that's going to be with your health. And you're going to become this person who is a little bit more strict about what it is that you put into your body, especially with this combination of Seven Wands and this Ten of Pentacles. That's somebody who's just like, I'm very much in control of my schedule, and I'm in control of my diet, and I'm in control of what I eat. Like, it's a very high sense of control in that sense. Okay, it doesn't necessarily mean you're like control of like, oh, let me control the people around me. I mean, it can get that if it's an extreme like negative thing, but it's mainly just like, this is the structure and this is how I plan my life. Kind of like the example I was giving earlier when I was saying you just don't have time for any other extra movements. No impulsive burst. Okay. But let's get into the other piles and the other cards and the sense. So with the Six of Cups here, it kind of reminds me of the last pile, but it's a little bit different. It's a little less somber when it comes to like going back on memory lane and looking towards the past and reminiscing on times. But at the same time, you're looking at things from a different perspective with this Two of Wands energy. Two of Wands can represent insight into the future, but it's like here you're gaining and you're learning from your past. That's how I'm reading these cards. It's like saying, I'm learning from my past mistakes. I'm learning from the things that I used to do. And I'm trying to find a balance between what it is that I liked about the things that happened in my past and what it is I want to bring into the future with me, with this Temperance here, and remaining balanced. Like, you want to be true to yourself, but you also want to make compromises in order that you achieve success. Because sometimes when you are too much focused in, your niche personality, it can be very isolating, right? Like, you may feel like, okay, well, it's kind of difficult to relate to somebody. Like, if you have a very specific, kind of like if you have a really specific interest, like if you're just interested in collecting, I don't know, marbles. Like, how many people, or maybe a lot of people are collecting marbles, but not on a normal, regular basis. You don't just meet marble collectors. You know what I mean? So what you're doing here is you're just like, looking at everything in your life and you're trying to say, well, how can I find a balance between the things that I want to do and the things that will actually achieve me practical success in life? And that's pretty much the person that you are becoming. You're looking for that level playing field, and you're trying to do that in order to maintain a sense of happiness. And I think what you're doing and you're becoming this person who has a strong sense of inner peace and a strong sense of belief within yourself and what it is that you think that you can do. Because I get this card, Temperance, to represent somebody with very strong opinions, which is why it is also the card of like kind of being tolerant. It's like saying, okay, yeah, I have these very, very strong opinions and other people have these very, very strong opinions. We need to find a middle ground. Otherwise, we're just kind of living in pure chaos. But this card is also very optimistic, and it's also a card that can be about, I guess, blending together two concepts or two ideas, kind of like how I was saying before. It's not just being super and totally crazy unique. It's like saying, hey, I want to take some things from the past. I want to not take somebody else's ideas, but in a way being like inspired by someone else in order to create something new. Kind of like how Quentin Tarantino kind of like combines all these different elements from different films. And then when you combine everything together, it creates something new or something different. Like, for example, today I had a pizza, and it was like butter chicken and pizza, which is like two different cultures coming together. That's pretty much what you're becoming. Like, you're transforming throughout your life two different ideas or multiple different ideas, and you're blending them together to create something that is unique to you, but also not strange and foreign to other people in order to achieve success. From other perspectives, in terms of like if we're just stepping away from career and we're just kind of getting into your personality in general, I wouldn't say that you have an extremely agreeable personality, but you're definitely somebody who means well, because we have this Temperance card here, and you are definitely somebody who wants to support and help other people, and you're not going to back down from that. And with the Six of Cups, like this card represents support. I always get that specifically for familial support. Same with the Ten of Pentacles. Both of these things I usually get for like loved ones supporting you. So you're becoming this person who's very supportive of your family or your friends or people you keep very close to you, or even just certain causes or things that are like true to your heart. Like, one thing that I do is I like always kind of donate to organizations that help Black women, because like, I mean, I'm a Black woman, so that would be something that's close to me. So things like that, you're becoming a person who can be a little bit more generous, somebody who is a bit more caring, and somebody who probably wants to look after the health of other people and the people in their community, only because Temperance does have that connection to medicine. And it's kind of like being into like, you know, crystals, alternative healing, which, I mean, it makes sense if you're watching this channel. That's not too far off for you, I think. But if we go into other things that are a little bit more superficial, I'm saying you're probably going to switch up your style to, if you were a person who used to be a little bit more extreme in your style, you're probably going to dial it back a little bit. And you're probably going to go for a more classic look as you get older, something that will probably be seen as, it can kind of go in any environment. Like, they're like, oh, you're not too dressy, but you're not like really casual, and you're not like too extreme, but you're not like boring in terms of like how you're presenting yourself. You're also a person who is going to pretty much stay very much in touch with their inner child, especially with the Six of Cups here. So there is still that sense of naivete, not naivete, that's not the right word. There's a sense of optimism and hope that you keep alive throughout your life, that the person that you're becoming. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I am missing here. We don't have any swords, so definitely not the type of person who is going to be so straightforward with the truth all the time. Only because swords is kind of just like that unfiltered truth, and you know the truth can hurt, right? So you're a person who's going to choose their words carefully, and you're going to try to communicate in a way that will be acceptable or easier for other people to hear, even if it's something that can be kind of like harsh. You're trying to filter that with a sense of sweetness to it. You're also becoming a person who is just someone who really likes to interact with a lot of different cultures, especially more locally. It's not like you want to interact with people within your community, but you also want to meet people in your community that you typically maybe don't associate with, because the Two of Wands reverse can be like, I don't want to go anywhere. I want to find the weird uniqueness that is around me, okay? I want to see the areas of my homeland or country or city that I haven't explored before. So you're exploring different territories. It's kind of like if you were to grow up rich and then you're just like, oh, well, I want to go and see what it's like to go to the other side of the track, or vice versa, where you're like, okay, I grew up poor, so I want to see how rich people live, or something like that. So there's an element of upward mobility. I'm going to say upward only because we have this 10 of Pentacles here. So it's almost like you're exploring different classes. So I don't know if you're like interested in more social climbing, but you're definitely going to be more of a social climber the further that you go on in life, in order to put yourself in a place where you have a lot more influence and a lot more power, okay? And then obviously you're going to be a little bit more balanced in your emotion. There's a lot of fire here because Temperance represents like Sagittarius, and we got this fire here. So you're obviously just going to stay or become more passionate person. And you're going to be probably someone who pretty much, as I said before, like the health habits, the eating habits, etc., the presentation, everything seems like you're trying to make sure every area of your life is in a acceptable form, okay? From like having like a good skincare routine to having like making sure your laundry's done. Like you're just looking to make sure that there's no like super chaotic areas of your life that are going unchecked. And you're very hands-on. Certain other piles were more like delegating work. This is not a lot of delegation. And also, you're staying up to date with latest trends and staying informed of like latest artists and whatever, which, you know, a lot of people do, not a lot of people do as they get older. And lastly, I did want to say that you may have grow into a more traditional kind of mindset, where I don't know if that's you before, but the fact that we have the Six of Cups, which represents like something from the past, and then we have the Two of Wands, which represents kind of like not being reversed. It's kind of like, oh, I'm not going to be unique. I'm not going to try to do something different. And the 10 of Pentacles, which represents, you know, kind of like tradition, family, legacy. You may end up with some sort of like traditional household, not household roles, but like traditional roles. I don't know how to explain that. You may end up in a traditional family situation, you know, like married with kids or something like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh, you're a straight couple married with kids, or you're like stay at home wife, married with kids, or stay-at-home husband wouldn't be traditional. That wouldn't be traditional at all. Or like something like that. But it just means like you may be like, okay, well, I'd rather be married with kids. And then you may be like, or something along the lines of like, well, I want to keep some family traditions. Like if you are, you know, Christian, and you're like, I want to celebrate Christmas the way my family celebrated Christmas. Or I can't think of any traditions off the top of my head, but maybe you just want to keep some family traditions alive. So you're becoming a person who can be a little bit more traditional in a sense, or just somebody who wants to carry on tradition. And then the last thing I want to take note of is you probably want to be somebody who carries on family stories and bringing a part of just your culture and your background with you. Okay, but definitely somebody who likes their luxury as well. Somebody who likes their spa days, 100% with that temperance and that 10 of pentacles there. That's like, oh, we're having a spa day. We're having a kiki. We're relaxing, and we're getting a massage done, and we're going to be in the jacuzzi, and we're going to go in a sauna, and that's you, okay? You're becoming that kind of person. So that is all I have for you guys. I will see you next time, and au revoir.